Greetings everyone. This is a quick promo before the video begins. If you're new to the channel and you didn't know it yet, I am actually an author in addition to being a YouTuber, and I have 2 books that you can get on Amazon. Operation Red Dragon: The Daikaiju Wars Part 1 and The Occult Mafia. The first is sort of a bizarre, absurdist kaiju anime mashup, and the other is a horror noir story with a hint of a western thrown in there. They're both set in the same universe, and at this point have received mostly positive reviews, so you might want to check them out. I've provided Amazon links for both of them down in the description. They're both available in either paperback or Amazon Kindle, and Operation Red Dragon is also available in audiobook form. So if either of these strike your fancy and you want to support a struggling artist, feel free to go down and check out either one or both of them. Alright, the shameless self-promotion is out of the way, we can get on with the video. Thank you all for your support. Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am the Omni viewer, and as you can probably guess, I like collecting things, especially when it comes to Godzilla merchandise.
Recently, the Playmates figures that tie into Godzilla vs. Kong became available through Walmart, despite the movie having been moved to 2021. This is due to the movie constantly being delayed thanks to...
Well, I can't say why without YouTube demonetizing me, but you know what it is.
Anyway, debate has raged as to the quality of these figures, particularly when it comes to viewing them as collector's items.
Well, that's why I'm here. I'm in the process of acquiring these figures as they become available, and I'll be sharing my honest thoughts on which of them are genuinely good pieces and which ones you may want to pass on. We'll be starting off with the 11-inch Giant Godzilla.
Giant Godzilla comes in mostly open packaging, the back of which displays that widely discussed image of the title characters battling atop an aircraft carrier. The tail, which is a separate piece, rests between the feet. The whole thing can be extracted from the package easily. All you need is a pair of scissors and it's free.
Alright, enough about the packaging. Let's get into the details.
Right out of the package, I can say this Godzilla is very well balanced. As you can see, I haven't even put the tail in yet, and he's still able to stand without assistance. I admit it's not that big of a detail, but I appreciate when a figure has a good center of gravity. The tail has a plug that allows it to easily be inserted into the body, and once it's in, the seam is barely noticeable. When viewed from the right, Godzilla looks good, even if he does still look like a toy. When viewed from the left, however, the look is disrupted. There are 9 very noticeable screw holes running from the shoulders down to where the tail attaches. The photographs I've taken really illuminate the screws, but even in different lighting, the holes remain obvious.
I won't lie, folks. They don't look good.
When you look at something like the Jakks Pacific Giant Size 2014 Godzilla, it also has screw holes, but they are strategically placed so as to at least be somewhat hidden. Thanks to that and its tremendous size, they aren't as obvious as they are on this figure.
If you're getting this for display purposes, you'll want it to be seen exclusively from the right side. And if you're getting it for photography or filmmaking, which would require it to be seen from different angles, you may want to fill these holes with epoxy or something.
Despite the asymmetry caused by the holes, the rest of the figure is appropriately symmetrical in terms of molding. The paint also looks good, especially with the blue highlights on the spines. The one tricky area is the eyes. If you get really close, you can tell they're not quite evenly matched, but the disparity is not so obvious that he appears wall-eyed. Also worth noting is the entire figure has details, even including the bottoms of the feet, so there was attention put into making it a complete figure. There are 2 materials used to make this Godzilla. The body, arms, and legs are made of hard plastic, while the head, hands, feet, tail, and dorsal fins are made of rubber.
The plastic sounds pretty thin, more so on the body than the limbs, but it feels sturdy, so you'd really have to abuse this thing in order to break it.
The rubber is also solid, especially on the head and tail, but the fins, being thinner, are more pliable to the touch. One of them, as you can see, is bent at the tip, though I'm sure a little careful fidgeting will straighten it out. The rest, I'm happy to say, are in pristine condition, at least on this one. This is something that may vary from figure to figure. It should also be noted that the rubber portions are more textured than the plastic portions, though the difference isn't a jarring one.
It occurs to me I haven't answered the one question I'm sure lots of people are wondering. Isn't this basically the same figure as the Jakks 2019 Giant Godzilla? Well, the design is overall the same because it hasn't changed much between movies, but I can assure you this is not the same figure.
I unfortunately don't have that figure for direct comparison, but I can still name the differences for you. For starters, the spines are a bit pointier and the head is a bit smaller. Details on the skin are slightly smoother on this guy, and the color is medium gray with blue highlights as opposed to olive drab.
The biggest difference can be found in the legs and tail.
The Jax figure was sculpted in a completely neutral pose, but the Playmates figure is slightly closer to an action pose. The attachable tail segment has curves going down to the end, and the legs are in a walking/fighting stance, with the right further back than the left. Admittedly, these differences are subtle, but they are still there.
The figure also highlights a detail that I'm surprised I haven't seen many people talking about.
Up until this point, the legendary Godzilla has had relatively small arms in proportion to the rest of him, but this figure's arms are noticeably longer. Now, perhaps that detail is exclusive to the figure, but if it is indicative of what we'll see in the movie, it might mean we'll see Godzilla doing more proper fisticuffs in this one.
I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Articulation is pretty much what you would expect. Both arms move at the shoulders, though they can't rotate all the way around. Both legs move at the hips, but also have limited rotation, and overall posing is limited thanks to the walking stance. You can rotate the tail where it connects if you want to. That might dislodge it if you aren't careful, but it pops back in easily enough. Lastly, the hands can rotate at the wrists, and the feet can rotate at the ankles. That can open up a few more possibilities for expressive posing, but only by a little bit.
Final verdict, this figure is okay.
Its biggest issue is that it only looks good from one side, and that's a pretty big issue because it means you can only display it one way. Posing is also very limited thanks to the mold having a pose built in. With that being said though, the paint and detail is far from terrible. Here, I'll line it up next to this similarly sized Bandai Godzilla, this one based on the Final Wars design. You can see the Playmates figure is not on the same level of detail, though it is a couple of inches taller. I would say the difference in quality speaks for itself.
If you're a parent getting this for your kids to play with, I'm sure they'll like it for what it is. Do I recommend this for collectors, though?
Well, if you're a die-hard enthusiast who must collect everything, you've probably already got one. For the rest of you, though, I would say that if you don't mind showing this figure only from the right, or you missed out on the Jax figure last year, this guy isn't bad, but he's not necessarily the greatest either. I'm sure it'll become a pricey collector's item one day, but for now, I conclude that the figure is average. It's mostly well made, but the flaws are hard to ignore, so keep that in mind.
Okay, that's one down. Until such time as we meet again, this is the Omni viewer signing off.
If you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Like and subscribe, then go down to the description to find links to follow us on DeviantArt, Patreon, and Twitter. While you're there, you'll also find the Amazon links for the original novels Operation Red Dragon, The Daikaiju Wars Part 1, and The Occult Mafia. 2 books I think you'll really enjoy. Thank you all, and we appreciate your support.